Hello, and what's up? Welcome to another CR Wrestling commentary. And you have to forgive the voice because a couple of days ago I was sick. And then just a couple of hours ago, I was actually sicker than that, just in a different way. So I don't have much power, I don't have much anything, but this is something I promised that I would do for the one that inspired this, and that is Jimmy Whisper, who asked me this on my comparative reasoning channel, not my wrestling channel. Good old Jimmy Whisper. He wanted to know who my top 5 wrestlers were. Well, he asked at first, who your top 5 wrestlers? And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, they won't top 5s. He just top wrestlers, and I want him to be a little more specific. 10, 15, give me a number. He said 5, and I was like, damn. He made it as difficult as he could without getting crazy, because if he said top 1, there only been one. I guess, I don't know. Doing the top 5 is difficult. Why? Because I love wrestling. I love professional wrestling. All right? And I understand there's a lot that does make up things for professional wrestling and carrying a show and things like that. But that's not what I have ever watched when it came to pro wrestling. So I'm just going to jump right into this. Now, I got them listed in order of how they just jumped in my head. There's probably 30 wrestlers or more that stand out to be my top wrestlers. Honestly, and certainly not really one over the other, because I've learned that wrestlers teach wrestlers. They scout wrestlers to learn for themselves. They build as they go. They make their craft better every time they go out. They seek advice from those who came before them and those that's gone abroad and come back. They share information for those that are wise enough to do that. Now, I'm going to go, I listed in order of, not really certain rank, but just impact on me. So the first one, just jumping right on into it, I had to kind of push them together. Manami Toyota and Akira Hokuto. I put them together because when I watch them, they're usually going against each other. And they fed off of each other in the ring. They were basically the female version of what the old timers here would call, the Steamboat and Flair. So Manami Toyota and Akira Hokuto, Akira Sasaki, since she's married, but those two females, I've watched them in their individual matches against each other. I've watched them wrestle others with almost the same caliber. But when those two hooked up, it was always a guaranteed 5-star match. Why? Because their wrestling talent flourished. They were both, as much as Akira Hokuto was, you would think she's a power wrestler, both of them are technical wrestlers. Not necessarily high flyers per se. Manami Toyota, high flyer. Not because of the moonsault. Because she did certain things like the no-handed swan dive tope con hiro. She did things like the Frostberry flop. She had, and I think she's only done that a couple of times. And honestly, I think both of them was she kind of just, spazzed out at the last second and just did it. It was weird. Manami is just like Hokuto. They are both quick to go to the top rope and dive off to the floor onto someone, whether they hit or not. Definitely going to hit the floor. Just hope there's some cushion between the floor and them, called a wrestler. So when they miss, it's always epic. Akira Hokuto was the personification of perseverance. When I did some research, this is long after she's retired, but doing research and seeing that they at one point called her the mummy because she was always so wrapped up, and I seen her that way. I thought it was a gimmick because that's what I was used to. But no, she was legit bruised, banged up, and torn muscles on a nightly basis. She was wrapped up basically on the right side of her body, around her head, and used colored bandages as part of her makeup. Just so you couldn't tell how jacked up her face was. There were times where the match had just got started and she would receive an elbow to the chest. And I can't remember, I know this was still in Gaia. She received an elbow to the chest and started bleeding from the mouth. And I had to wonder what that was. And it's because her mouth was torn up from stuff before, from taking stomps to the jaw, elbow drops to the jaw. Manami Toyota using such dangerous innovations like the Victory Star drop. Great innovations like the Japanese Ocean Cyclone suplex hold. Moves like that. And those are finishing moves, but not yet their greatest moves. Great moves don't need to be finishers. It's just how that wrestler portrays that move, that hold. And they both equally brought their A game to each other. Vicious, unyielding, powerful, and made sure that when that match was over, even the fans had to almost be picked up off the floor from exhaustion from cheering. It was always an amazing match, whether it be tag team, singles, or a jumping. It was always something to behold watching those two wrestle. And the older they got, the worse it got. So that's my duo for that. And I don't have one. There are no more duos. Next on the list is Big Van Vader. Big Van Vader, as Vince McMahon wanted to see if I can do this, the Mastodon, as what he was calling him, which I thought was stupid. And I know where he really got it. All right, I don't know why no one's ever picked up on it, but he calls him the Master. He called him the Mastodon, not because he's big. It was bigger, okay? It was bigger. But he called him the Mastodon because of that Mastodon-shaped helmet that he brought to the ring. It looked like some kind of elephant. But Vader is not him doing the moonsault, never had to. Vader was hype. Vader, the way Big Van Vader worked in the ring, the way his promos went, it was going to happen to you. He was going to happen to you. And you knew you couldn't get out the way. I mean, yes, there's a left lane and there's a right lane. Vader's staying only on the yellow lines, but you aren't going to get out the way. He's going to get you. And I enjoyed that. I loved his taunts in the ring. He got the crowd behind him. He wasn't heel work, he didn't have to low blow. He didn't have to rake the eyes. No. Vader was a heel in an awesome way. He just beat the hell out of you. He had a match against Antonio Inoki, his first match in New Japan Pro Wrestling, when strong style wasn't the style. It was the way. That's just how they wrestled. And Vader went in there and squashed him, annihilated him, potatoed roughly every move. When I saw that match, which was way after Vader was already over with me. When I saw that, I thought, wow, that's what Sting was up against. Because that was the first time I saw Vader. Him going against Sting. And that was a whole White Castle thing with the white robe and all this other stuff. And I was like, it's cold there, man. You just got on a white cloak. I mean, look, everyone's worn a cool jacket when it's 19 degrees, but they got appendages. You gotta warm up your body. So it let me know, okay, obviously that's just setting. I was a kid, but I was like, it's cold, and I'm like, and part of me was like, this dude is so badass. He's in the freezing cold, talking about how he's going to come to the United States and destroy this guy. And Sting being a fan favorite, and he did a good job in like, I'm going to be for the fans, and I'm going to take on the challenge. But it was a part of Sting where I kept wondering, why does he look scared? And I don't know if Sting did that on purpose or not, or maybe I was just misreading his facial expressions. Maybe I was confusing his fear for mine. Because if someone that big and that unyielding looking was going to come after me, I would definitely not be home. Okay? I don't know where I would be, but it wouldn't be where he's going to be. And Vader get into that ring and he started throwing those stiff forearms, those inside punches. And you could hear him grunting, just slinging those arms like they aren't even really attached to him. And I remember, I think it was Halloween Havoc, him and Flair in the cage. And I remember Vader, he was grunting and hitting them. And I did this, and I mentioned a lot of this in a previous video that's been taken down of when I was talking about Leon White, his passing and stuff. Well, I got teary-eyed and choked up through that. It was painful. But when he was hitting Flair and he was telling him, fight back. I don't know if the cameras were meant to do that, but yeah, fight back, fight back. So that's Vader, hard hitting, straightforward, epic power bombs, big Vader splash, the reverse Vader splash, the moonsault, clotheslines. I mean, power bomb somebody and break their back. He didn't mean it, but that was a really bouncy ring that he did it in. Physics, maybe it wasn't Vader that did it. It could have been the recoil of the ring as the guy came up and didn't know how to take the move properly. Who knows? But, I mean, I'm just saying, Vader scared me. And moving up from Vader is the next guy, Ron Simmons. He was one half of the WCW Tag Team Champions with Butch Reed. They called themselves Doom. And found out they weren't supposed to be the original Doom. But Ron Simmons being Doom, see, everyone knows Ron Simmons as Farouk. I'm like, yeah, he was all right, I guess. When he came out as Farouk, the masked man wearing blue and stuff. But Ron Simmons, I watched him go start his push to be world champion. When he was Doom going against, he went Doom and going against the Steiners and doing all that other stuff, and the Road Warriors and Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, and all that. Man, I was stunned at his presence. He stood still in the ring when he was with Doom. He was still, as a heel, that was his best work. That was his best work. He stood like he wasn't going to move. And he didn't move. And he picked you up and he slammed you with such authority. It was like, I slammed you, I dare you to get up. And I've seen him do that. And the jobber just looking up at him like, I don't know if I want any more of this. And him looking down like, you don't need any more of this. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that stalwartness. I mean, he was a brick defense of his own. It's like, not only did he would throw you to the ropes and you hit the wall, but then the wall fall on you and get up and then pull you up to fall on you again. The wall was brutal. And no, this ain't Donald Trump's wall. This is a wall that actually works. This wall actually works. You're not going to tunnel under it. You're not going to climb over it. It's going to grab you and it's going to break you in half on the mat. It's going to headbutt you. It's going to forearm you. It's going to put knees to your body. It's going to beat on you until you decide, please pin me. I'm begging you for this. When he was Farouk, he was... But when he finally teamed up with Bradshaw, who is not on this list, but oh, so close. But he and Bradshaw, that's when I enjoyed that. The Acolytes. he got to be a heel, but he was cheered. That's when you've hit that real payday right there. When you are a heel and you're cheered, you can't beat that. It's happened with Naito. It's happened with Sting. It happened with Ron Simmons. And Ron Simmons was the WCW heavyweight champion. He was really beloved. You would have thought he was on par with Sting, and he might have been. It was never tested. But Ron Simmons, I mean, they messed up when they tried to gimmick him after, his football career. They, his finishing move being a 3-point stance, run, tackle like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, like Mongo McMichael, like they tried to do with Goldberg. Goldberg said, I'm going to do a spear instead. So Ron Simmons being not just unmovable, but he had much work ethic. And he could pull off a match with anybody. He really could. And it was awesome to watch him wrestle. And he's one of those few where I'm like, I hate that people got to get old. Because I would love to see Ron Simmons still. I like to see him in his heyday with all the wisdom he's gained thus far. That is a Ron Simmons I would love to see dominate the scene. Next, we're going to go back overseas to Japan. And this one is a lot of people's favorite, but one that didn't influence me, but made me think, there I go. There I am. Hey. But this is Keiji Muto, where I first was knowing him as the Great Muta. And I enjoyed that. I always enjoyed watching the Great Muta. Enjoyed that slow, methodical, thoughtful pace, burst of speed. And yet, though he's not a power wrestler, such speed, it was powerful. And people want to be happy and talk about, oh yeah, he's great because he bled so much. Anyone can bleed. I'm not a wrestler, never been trained or anything. Got hit in the head with a rock and then hit back in the head with a brick. Covered my white shirt in blood. Had to be cut out of them. Never got stitches. Does that make me great? It made me greatly in pain is what it made me. But that's besides the point. Keiji Muto, speed, finesse, calculating. Somebody that wants to eat me. Hey, I mean, why not innovate? I'm going to hit you in the side of the head with my knee. I mean, really. It's a knee. Hit somebody with it. Can't just be Muay Thai shots all the time. No. Come on now. Swing your leg. Hit somebody inside the head with your knee. Like Sting in the Stinger Splash. Wait a minute. Nobody after all this time never thought to run and just jump onto someone in the corner? It went all those, honestly, over 100 years and no one thought to just run and jump on somebody in the corner. How simple is that? The best user of that right now is Tama Tonga. He does a great Stinger Splash. Keiji Muto, I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. And I saw that jacket and written on the side, Natural Born Master. I was like, he ain't keeping that, but I am. Those that follow my wrestling shows, no. I'm not even going any further than that. Great Muta, Alter Ego. In the match was Great Muta and Keiji Muto wrestled the same night. Okay, he goes to the back as Great Muta, takes, no, he went out and got the paint on, came back. And then there's Muta where he, I guess, tried to overdo it himself, had too much paint on, face all itchy and stuff. He had to scratch the paint off. But it's hard. I mean, hey, and he innovated the Muta lock. Nobody knows what to call it. Indian Deathlock Bridge and the chin lock. That's really what it is. Transition to a chin lock. And no one knows that he innovated it. But he did. With great innovation. With great style. With one of my favorite moves, the flashing elbow. Loves it. loves it. I mean, Keiji Muto has not just innovated a few moves, but then he always takes it to the next level. He always takes his intros to the next level. He always do things to the next level. Now, I mean the next level as in what company you're going to wrestle for. That's not a level. That's just a place to make money. That's all that is. It's not that the company is better, because it's not. It's just where you can get more money. But if you are a professional wrestler and you want to know if your wrestling skill is awesome, can't judge it by the fans. You judge it by the people that you wrestle, and you judge it by those that want to wrestle you. There are wrestlers out there and they just say, I want to wrestle this guy in the ring. I want to see how I do. I want to see how we work together. Well, what kind of match can we put on? It's a different dynamic. That's Keiji Muto. You get to the point you start to understand things, but what I love about him, he can switch up his game at any given moment for any type of company, for any type of wrestler. You just don't know when he's going to do what he's going to do until you see certain setup moves. And the final one, top of the heap, upper echelon, the first one that popped into my mind when it comes to my favorite wrestlers. And that's Chris Benoit. Now, I want to say this first and foremost, for those that want to talk about, oh, he was a shit person, but he was a great wrestler. Shut the fuck up. Let that sink in. Shut the fuck up. I don't give a fuck about your opinion if he was an asshole in real life, a murderer. None of that matters. It don't. Because you can point it out, and what does it mean? Legit, what does it mean? I can point out Donald Trump is most likely a serial rapist. But, wow, nothing changed. I still have no money. I'm still not a wrestler. I still have I have 2 chronic illnesses. Nothing changes when you're pointing out stupid shit. Now, Chris Benoit, an amazing technical wrestler, an amazing power wrestler, stiff, strong style, headstrong, no holds barred, no surrender, unyielding steam engine that don't quit until you have been completely decimated. That's how I've always seen Chris Benoit. And I've modeled a lot of my wrestlers after that style. A lot of my wrestlers are modeled after every single person that I've mentioned. Just tidbits. Certain tidbits, and build a wrestler around it. That's all I've done. Can you guess which wrestlers? I mean, there's Manami Toyota, Akira Hokuto, Big Van Vader, Ron Simmons, Keiji Muto, Chris Benoit. Which wrestlers are mimicking something of them? There's one guess that's too obvious. Chris Benoit, watching him as Wild Pegasus in old tapes, Pegasus Kid. Either way, watching him against Tiger Mask, the original. Watching him against Tiger Mask 2, Black Tiger, which was Eddie Guerrero. Watching him against Jushin Thunder Liger. Watching him against Brian Pillman. Watching him against Keiji Muto. And one of my favorite matches was him and Tenzan Hideyoshi, or Hideyoshi Tenzan, whichever you want to pronounce, and first name last name first. It all depends on you. But Benoit was somebody that said, oh wow, strong style, I'm in love. I think I hear my mating call. And he did it. Now, I love a wrestler that can get in there and throw down like that, because it looks right and it feels like a true competition. Somebody wants to win that match. It's almost like both of them ain't that far from starving, and someone said, hey, I got a whole hoagie sandwich back here, and whoever wins get to eat it. And that's what they did. When Benoit had one of the hardest hitting stiff chops I had ever seen. He chopped Tenzan And that was the first time I had noticed Tenzan's eyes were so damn big. I never knew that. I was like, this dude look Hawaiian all of a sudden. His eyes got big. He looked at Benoit like, you motherfucker, I'm definitely going to kill you tonight. That's how he looked at Benoit. And he turned up the heat. Because Tenzan, stiff, yeah, just like any other person in Japan was working at that time under Inoki's banner. But he had to up his game. And I watched that. And he was hitting hard. He wasn't just doing Mongolian chops. He was like, I'm doing Mongolian chop you down. He was pissed. Not as pissed as Toru Yano made him. But he was pissed enough. Watching Benoit come to the States. Basically, the long mullet hair type thing. To me, that was just Benoit. He cut that mess off in WCW. And I was like, oh, he done screwed himself. He's never going to win a match again. And me and my co-host was, she was like, yes, he will. And no, he won't. And he didn't win the match for a while. And his performance dropped. I was like, man, he need to grow that fucking hair back. And he grew it, I think, just about shoulder length. It was kind of hanging down. He started winning again. I was like, see, there you go. Got your hair back, you get your wins going. And, a tombstone pile driver off the middle rope, awesome. And goes for the pin. You don't pick him up. Wild bomb, that snap high angle power bomb and pin. You don't pick him up. And the one he debuted on Eddie Guerrero, good grief, man. Good grief. Eddie should have been thankful that he was a very well-trained wrestler to take that move. Benoit using the crossface, taught by Yuji Nagata, it was good. It was great. But it wasn't his best move. And I'd never liked the fact that they made sure to take away his best moves for a submission hold. Because time tested sometimes ain't the way to go. Sometimes beat them down 1, 2, 3. Benoit was a workhorse. I would have enjoyed to watch a legitimate professional wrestling match between him and Bret Hart. I would have enjoyed to see that. Not some short 3 or 5 minute thing where somebody runs in, or a 10-minute match where you could tell they're both holding everything back, just doing enough. No, I'm talking about the kind when he was wrestling Triple H before he won that World Heavyweight title from WCW, and he backed Triple H into the corner, chopping the hell out of him. And Triple H, instead of really firing back like he would on anyone else, he had to shove him away and push him out the ring and just console his chest in the corner, dropping to his knees and rolling to the side. That's the kind of the punishment Benoit would put on somebody. And I miss seeing that kind of thing. And I don't think we're going to get that again. And if we do, who is it? And how long before they're signed to the big company that's just going to water them down? Because anyone that gets signed by one of these big companies, I'm just going to give them a big old pail of water and say, drink that, man. Because that's what's about to happen. Those are my top ones. Those are my top ones. I know this was long, but it was asked, and I want to give full clarity on why. So if you got any other questions, if you want to talk to me, like, hey man, but what about, why didn't you mention? Hey, look me up on Discord. I can talk to you and we record the conversation, obviously for CR Wrestling Commentary. I'm willing to talk to you. I can't wait to talk to you. Just come on over to my Discord, come to my voice channel, and we can have a little talk. I might have questions for you, or you might find yourself disliking me more. If you want me to heal it up, I will heal it up. I can also be a great babyface too. It all depends. Or I can be a mirror. You know what a mirror is? Is when you treat someone like an asshole and they treat you like one too, and you think they're the problem. You're just looking at yourself. That's a mirror. This is Cedric for CR Wrestling. For CR Wrestling Commentary, CR Fire Pro, CR Fire Pro Road. Thank you for listening.
1, 2.
Handheld Western Lariat. I'm back. I'm back. There she have him. I don't know what action I missed, but I had to do the right thing now. Oh, that's that lariat.
1,
2,
3.
and he got her. And your winner of the match is Shigahara Shindo, and he retains his rank 3 spot. Good job, Shigahara. Good job.